Podcasting live from warm, sunny Colorado. Always warm, always sunny, sometimes Colorado. Today is February 5th, 2022. I am back home. Home is where the heart is. God, it's good to be home. Unfortunately, I was forced to quarantine for a bit, so I had to go off site. But I finally got to be back home. Don't expose anybody to the Rona. I feel a lot better, feeling good. I had the Omicron. That's something everybody in the entire world is going to catch at some point. It's really hard not to catch something with an with a R naught of 7. It spreads like wildfire. Anyway, so I decided to do a video. I titled it "A Bit of Everything" because there's a few different things to talk about, and I don't know how long I'll be ranting, but it's good to talk about some things. So, as promised, there was an event that happened in the Cardano ecosystem that for some reason people keep trying to drag me into. And I said, I have nothing to do with it. So these guys are just going to have to figure this shit out for themselves. And that was the Sunday Swap card starter issue. Well, it looks like Starter filed a lawsuit, and it's 38 pages, and they have law firm and all these people. And now that it's ongoing litigation, there's really no point commenting about it. Litigation is the failure of negotiation. Usually you go mediation, try to talk out your differences, see if you can come to a win-win. If that doesn't work, you try perhaps some other form of dispute resolution. When you actually go to the lawsuit phase, it's a complete breakdown of the relationship to a point where you're handing over your entire fate to a judge or jury or both, hoping that you can get a better outcome than you could with the other party. And I guess they're asking now for even more than what they were promised, 250 million or something like that. So, the filing stands for itself, and they're alleging fraud, a promissory estoppel situation, and that there's some sort of implied deal. So lawsuits are lawsuits. There's a discovery process. Stuff can be subpoenaed. There are all kinds of things that can be dragged into the process. And so now that's going to go on for a while. It'll probably be horrendously expensive. There'll probably be a countersuit and all kinds of things. And these things could take months to years to fully litigate. It's quite unfortunate that that's where Card's at and Sunday's at in the relationship, that apparently spending months to years to solve a problem is a better idea than trying mediation or something else. But, that's the prerogative of the principals there and where that relationship is at. And it's a reminder for young entrepreneurs in general, taking a step back in abstraction about the nature of commercial arrangements and expectation management. When people are very young, they negotiate in a very organic way. They tend to, just say, hey, how about this? Or how about this? And, they do it over Slack or Telegram or Reddit or Twitter. I remember when I got started in this industry, I negotiated a lot of stuff over Bitcoin Talk and private messages back and forth. That's actually how Invictus Innovations got started, my first company in this industry. I had a thread called Project Invictus, and the very first person to reply to it was Dan Larimer under the handle Bytemaster, when I was trying to dream up what could make Bitcoin invincible or crypto invincible. So anyway, you tend not to be so careful, because you don't have any experience. You don't really understand the value of legal agreements or, the value of expectation management and the value of how negotiations are supposed to be done. So there's a teachable moment for the entire Cardano ecosystem, for all these 230 plus dApps that are now building, to take a step back and make sure that they have proper legal hygiene. Do you have God's eye view on all of the commercial arrangements and understandings and deals and negotiations that are signed, sealed, and in flight? And do you have the right legal operating system to be able to handle all those? For your ventures, do you have founders agreements? Do you have the proper non-disclosure agreements? Does everybody understand their commercial realities? Have they written to confirm that? Have you gotten confirmation that your understanding of the deal is their understanding of the deal, and that's the only part of the deal? That's why an entire clause exists. And also the communities that you're all building, do those communities fully appreciate and understand the nature and realities of the deal and the representations that have been made? If you can't answer that with absolute 100% yes, we believe so, you got work to do. Now, no one's perfect, especially young ventures, but this is a space where unfortunately young ventures are given millions to tens of millions of dollars, in some cases hundreds of millions of dollars, without a lot of adults in the room or venture capital oversight. And the old people who start getting gray in their beard, and I used to be one of the young people, but I'm starting to feel like one of the old people, we tend to remind people the value to these things, and sometimes they take it and sometimes they don't. So there's certainly a teachable moment for everybody who's building something on Cardano. Anything that has value, anything that could have value in the future, could potentially be a spot for litigation or discussion. Never forget that. And everybody you think is your friend, is on the same terms as you, they can turn very quickly when real money is at stake. I recall when we started Ethereum back in January 2014, all the Ethereum founders got together in Miami, and we all thought we were the best of friends. 6 months later, we weren't, because it went from, hey, we're all doing a cool open source project, let's go chill in Miami, to there are millions of dollars at stake, huge wealth transfer, titles to give out, kind of things like that. So oral agreements and understandings and these things, they all evaporated, and they went in different directions. And there's plenty of books written about that history, and it was pretty messy. And there probably should have been litigation, but it's water under the bridge. We all did pretty well, but it could have just as well gone the other direction, especially if Ethereum didn't deliver. People forget that there was a time when Ethereum only had $500,000 left in the bank, and they were precariously close to not being able to deliver the product up to the expectations of other people. Remember that. So anyway, that's that. No more to comment on my side, because litigation's ongoing, and we're not a party to it. We have no involvement in it, but it's senseless to opine and comment and think about these things, because stuff will come out, and I'm as much of a spectator as you guys are, and we'll see what the truth of the matter is through the discovery process and through the litigation process. Lots of things will be brought to the court, and we'll see what these guys do. All right, so that tables that. Don't add me to tweets anymore. Don't ask me to comment on anymore. At this point as much as I do. There's nothing more to say. Let's talk about Joe Rogan. Many of you know that I'm a big fan of the Joe Rogan podcast because of what it is. There are so few media that we have that somebody makes it a point to bring somebody on and just let them discuss whatever the hell they happen to be an expert in. You can be a UFO guy. You can be a world famous scientist. You can be a domain expert in some really cool new thing like anti-aging. Or you can be a deeply controversial person like an Alex Jones type person, or Alex Jones himself. What was really amazing about the Rogan podcast is that Rogan made a policy just to let them talk and share who they are with the world. Now, there was no great patronage here, where some media empire, Rupert Murdoch or something like that, showed up and said, we're going to make this guy a star. It was just people talking. In an age where institutions lack legitimacy and people are in desperate need for truth and for candor, this was a refreshing format that led to the rise of the Lex Friedman podcast. It led to the rise of the intellectual dark web, all of these things. Joe made a decision to get in front of this bullet train of COVID that's been going on. The age of COVID is not an age of truth. We all know that. It's not an age of science. It's not an age of reason. It's an age where you're told to accept things that are just not materially true. And we all know it. But we're not really allowed to have a conversation about it because it can promote vaccine hesitancy or whatever the hell people want to throw at you. The reality is that private companies are making tens of billions of dollars off of the misery and suffering of the lockdowns that are occurring. Johns Hopkins recently released a report saying that the reduction in mortality from all this lockdown culture is about 0.2%. We're not allowed to really think about that or talk about that. A public health campaign to reduce obesity probably would be more effective than what the lockdowns have done for the reduction of mortality. And we've witnessed over the last 24 months the largest wealth transfer in the history of the world between the poor to the rich. That's a fact. Mandates, especially for vaccines, mean that private companies who have no risk and didn't have to pay to build the products that they build are guaranteed to make tens of billions of dollars. And if we don't take them, then we're now social pariahs. So we're not allowed apparently to have a dialogue about that. And if anybody tries to have a dialogue about that, they're punished. The statements that Rogan made didn't make them yesterday. They occurred over a 2-decade period. 100 million people in the audience. No one seemed to have any issue. No one did any collages or things until after started commenting on things that make very powerful people tens of billions of dollars. And now there's a big surge of censorship and deplatforming. So people come to our industry, the cryptocurrency space, because there's a very real possibility that Joe could be canceled. And there's a very real possibility that somebody with 11 million followers who listen to him on a regular basis could suddenly wake up without a job. And they say, well, you guys are the censorship resistant industry. You guys are the ones who somehow find a way to get people back into the milieu of society. The reality is crypto is not ready for social media. There are many challenges. And next week, I'll probably do some whiteboard videos and take you guys through some of the things that have to be solved if crypto actually has something to say to replace Twitter or Facebook or be a platform for free expression and free speech and free thought. It's not really where we're at as an industry yet. There's a lot of work that needs to be done. So unfortunately, there's no panacea here. There's no silver bullet we have to offer a guy like Joe when they continue to attack him and eventually get rid of him, because it'll come at some point somehow, scandal after scandal, or the slow heat death of losing his audience because of all the controls that have to be put on now. It makes me sad when you lose the ability to express yourself and think and have controversial ideas. Ideas can't hurt you. Ideas hurt the people in power. Ideas hurt institutions. Ideas hurt other ideas, but ideas don't hurt you. You are a free-thinking person, the person listening. You have every ability to look at each scenario and situation in its own right and use your judgment and rationality to decide what that situation and scenario means to you. And we have, as a society, to take a step back and realize that people are just making decisions for us arbitrarily about what we must put in our bodies, what we must put in our children's bodies, making decisions about the money that you work so hard for. Our national debt in the United States crossed over $30 trillion. Back when I started going to college, it was a little over 4. Wasn't too long ago. I'm not that old. Now we're 30. And we're told there's no inflation. It's transitory. I'll guess it's here, but don't worry about it. They tell you things like you'll own nothing and be happy. More people than ever before are renting because they can't afford to buy a house. More people than ever before, even if the husband and husband, wife and wife, whatever pairing you want to put together, both have jobs, 2 jobs, 3 jobs, working full-time, overtime, gig economy, still can't pay the bills. When my grandfather got out of the Korean War on my mom's side, single, working household, married his sweetheart, had 7 kids. She didn't work. And he was still able to retire a millionaire off of a blue-collar salary because he invested wisely. That was the economy he lived in. We don't live in that economy anymore. Now, it doesn't affect me. I'm part of a special class of people. I'm very fortunate to have stumbled into it. Wasn't born into it, but now that I'm there, if I just shut up and do nothing, the rest of my life can make double-digit returns and basically live a life of plenty. I don't have a lot of economic problems anymore. The way that the economy is set up, people like me, we don't have issues. And that's at your expense. Because all those investments I'm allowed to invest in, those giant real estate funds that are buying up all the apartment buildings and buying up all the houses and other things that they rent to you, they benefit me. They don't benefit you guys. There is nothing more immoral and disgusting than the progression of this economy and the way the wealth transfer has happened over the last 24 months. The only way we get out of this is to discuss it. But now our ability to think and discuss, to be rational human beings, express ideas, is being taken from us systematically, piece by piece. Think about it. The point of the cryptocurrency space, the core of it are 3 things. One is this idea of decentralization. Do you really know what that means? We don't have it. Moxie's article is a great one, the one I read off my last video to you guys, because Moxie's article at its core was saying you're sold a false bill of goods because some people want money. But the heart of the industry, decentralization, has yet to be fully achieved. A lot of people are working towards it and working for it, and there's a lot of great ideas about it. We're starting to figure out how to measure it, but at the end of the day, it's an elusive thing. There's a lot more to do to get to true decentralization. Second is this concept of inclusive accountability. Something so simple. And you live in a controlled society when people take it from you. Inclusive accountability is just your ability to verify things yourself that people tell you. So in Bitcoin, Cardano, Ethereum, any real cryptocurrency, if I send you a transaction, I send you some ADA, you boot up your Daedalus, you have everything you need to check and verify that ADA exists and it hasn't been double spent. That can also be used for voting systems. So when you vote, wouldn't it be nice to be able to check and make sure your vote was actually recorded and recorded the way that you voted instead of just taking somebody's word for it?